first worked on Darfur cases in 2006. And I remember when the resolution came out, we were excited at the opportunity of finally working on these terrible things that were happening back then in 2003, 2004, the massive criminality happening all over Darfur. And then in 2006 or 7, we brought out the warrants for Mr. Abdurrahman Ali Kushaib, for Ahmed Haroon. And then some years later for Mr. Hussein, and then for then President Bashir. And then, to be honest, time stopped. And that is the problem. We and cooperating states did not manage to obtain the arrest of these suspects for many years. And therefore, the groups that were involved in criminality continued to function and prosper. And then these patterns of criminality also continued over the years. If you look at 2003, if you look at 2004, especially the Sudanese participants in this conference will recall that these patterns continued. Now, finally, a few years ago, we did obtain the arrest of Mr. Abdurrahman. And this was indeed a significant step forward, because finally, witnesses could come forward and speak about the horrors that they endured. Evidence regarding the crimes in Mukjar, Delej, Kudum, Bindizi from 2003, 2004 could finally be brought forward, and justice could be seen to be done. Now, as you said, the Abdurrahman case is just about closed, and we're waiting for a judgment. But President Bashir has not been surrendered, Mr. Haroon has not been surrendered, etc., etc. And that is why you see the same patterns of criminality being carried out in Janena, in Al-Fashir, in Niala, and in fact, outside Darfur, all over Sudan. Right? So this is the challenge that we are grappling with. When hostilities broke out in the middle of April 2023, the office immediately took note, and it was apparent to us that the same patterns were being repeated. And in fact, in his address to the Security Council in the middle of 2023, the prosecutor already indicated that we were opening a new investigation, the investigation for which I am a focal point, the investigation into recent crimes. And we did not have a team at that point, but or at least did not have a team focusing on these crimes, but we swiftly got a team together, started reaching out, and started examining where are the main crimes occurring, who are the main groups involved in these crimes, and which areas should we focus on. One of our early focuses was West Darfur, in particular the area of Janena. But the prosecutor also indicated that that was not going to be the only focus. He also mentioned, for example, the crimes ongoing even now in Al-Fashir, as well as a number of other locations in Darfur. I'll refer back to what His Excellency said. We are limited, unfortunately, to Darfur, and that is a challenge. Every day I meet, or rather very regularly I meet Sudanese people who ask, why aren't you doing something about Khartoum? Why aren't you doing something about Jazeera? Why aren't you doing something about Kordofan? And my answer, unfortunately, is that that is the legal box in which we are. Of course, that doesn't mean that we are helpless. There are many terrible things happening in Darfur, and we are working on those things. And we should also remember that, of course, even if one is not resident in Darfur, if one contributes to crimes in Darfur, then one can still be investigated. That's something to bear in mind. I and members of my team have visited the refugee camps of Adre, of Gaga, of Farshana, and we have spoken to hundreds and hundreds of people who are living in abject misery And that's something I think we should all bear in mind in terms of the urgency of what we're experiencing. We sit here wearing suits and working on laptops, but most people that I have spoken to in these refugee camps have no steady source of food, have no steady source of medicine. Their children are not getting an education. And for them, this is a matter of utmost urgency, and that's something that the ICC bears in mind when we do this work. So just to be clear, we are, of course, carrying out an open-ended investigation, that is to say, investigating all parties to the conflict and their potential links to crimes. And that's something that we are, that is something that we cannot, of course, do alone, which explains also my presence here, as I've discussed with Bettina, and as His Excellency also mentioned earlier. The FFM, the ICC, we cannot do these jobs alone. We are entirely reliant, especially on persons from Sudan, with people with expertise relating to the conflict in Darfur, with people with networks, witness networks, victim networks, databases of information that that people have already collected, and that is the relationship that I'm hoping to be here and build, and I'm sure that that is the same relationship that His Excellency is hoping to build. I think I'll stop there and leave more time for questions.